Welcome to another episode of Motivate to Millions podcast. I am your host, Quinton Baker. Today's topic is going to be so impactful. But before we start, let's go over our three motives, which is to influence, income, impact. Influence, income, impact. Those are always our three motives. So, as we get started with today's episode is actually going to be about something probably less talked about, but I think is really needed, and that's transferable skills. So, today's episode is going to be success with transferable skills. I'm going to talk about a little bit about me and how that applies and how that could even apply to you. My very first job was in like a warehouse, but it was more a logistic style type job where shipping, receiving, uh, the making sure orders are getting out in time. God knows, a lot of inventory management. I think that was a big bulk of it towards the end of my stint there, which was a lot of inventory management, just a lot, because of what we were providing. At the time, I could tell you from a 2-year span in that role, I got good at each level. So there wasn't really anything that I couldn't do. I could load a truck. I could receive inventory. I could ship out inventory. I could manage the inventory that we had. And that taught me so much as far as like going to my next phase in life, where it transferred. These transferable skills were key because I still use them to this day. And everywhere there's some type of inventory management, even if it's people. Sometimes it's not the inventory of products, it's the inventory of people. Sometimes it's just people management. And sometimes it's a mix of both. So fast forward, I worked for a law enforcement agency that was more so management of people, trying to enforce rules, regulations. And I would say the only thing that was transferable from one to the next, from like a warehouse logistic type job to a law enforcement type job, was just the logistics of what do we need to do? How do we need to do it? If it's a situation, how do we need to move? Like, that was very key. I felt like that was a transferable skill that helped me in that season when I transitioned there. Just how to move in chaos in a logistical manner to get the overall successful outcome. Hope more than likely successful outcome, the best successful outcome possible, because in that field, it's not always cookie cutter. So moving forward, I would say did many sales roles versus whether it was retail, car dealership. That was a level of inventory management. Receiving cars in, shipping, getting them out, which this was a dealership that specialized in vehicle locator service, which I think is phenomenal. I may talk on that in a different topic one day. I love that. That's what kind of drew me in with that that model that the dealership had. So vehicle locator service, finding what the customer is looking for versus just trying to get them to buy what we had. I think that was really good. So again, still shipping and receiving, you know. So then you go to retail, and it's like that is continuous um, logistical work where you got inventory products coming in, products going to other locations, other stores. Um, you can really see how one job alone that I've just discussed has transferred into many different roles. So then you fast forward, I'm working in sales, um, sales retail, sales at the car lot or dealership. And it's like, man, sales is not something that is cookie cutter. Um, you don't, even when you think you know, there's always more to learn. And even then, you still have to be open to learning because the market is always changing. And just like technology is forever changing, it does not stay the same. So you must stay um, ahead by learning what's coming down the pipeline. So it's the same way with sales. The same tactics from 1970 don't necessarily work in 2024. The same activities back then in the 80s doesn't work, in the 2000, in 2024. It just doesn't. Some things remain the same. Some things are foundational from back in the day. But for the most part, sales is like you really have to get in tune with your sales voice, your sales activity. What are you doing to produce the sale? Like, you have to create value. I think that's number one in sales. And then you have to maintain value. So in sales, I worked in retail. This is how it's transferable. I worked in retail. In this role, we did, of course, a lot of product sales, but then I learned about upselling. And upselling is where I start you out. I'm going to just use, as you see, I'm wearing a shirt and tie for those that can see me. Shirt and tie, more of a suit. And this is where I learned at a men's department store. We start with a suit, but then we would upsell. It was not required, but it was highly encouraged that we upsell, that we start with the suit, and then that we could kind of help the customer match up a great shirt and tie, and then asking key questions like, what do you do for a living? Or, what type of event are you buying the suit for? Is it for work? Is it for pleasure? Is it for a special event? So you can kind of gauge and understand which way you're needing to go with the customer that best help them, and also upsell them on some items that could go with their suit or product that they're buying. So you're still providing value. You're just providing more detailed value. Again, this was key because now I work in insurance where, as an insurance agent in car insurance, particularly, is highly encouraged. We upsell. And even then, the customer may not think they need it. Like a particular item, like if your car breaks down, you got a roadside service. They may not think they need it, but you have to get them to see the value in it in order to upsell them on the product. I think that's with everything. You have to help them to see the value and how it's applicable to them in order to upsell something. You can't just upsell it. Hey, you need it. You got to help them understand why and how does it equate to their life. And the only way you can do that is by asking probing questions to see what's their lifestyle, what's their needs, what's their daily activity. Again, that's two, one role helped me even today to use those same transferable skills now. And that was 4 years ago. So these transferable skills are keys to success if you really use them and apply them. Another thing I would say from another different company in retail, as a assistant manager, it was a not a whole lot of staff members. It was a short staff, but a lot of times you would be working alone. And one of the things that I didn't like at first, but then I had to learn how to get comfortable with, and then I had to actually dive a little deeper and see the purpose in it, which was something called the SWOT analysis. This SWOT analysis, if you've never heard of it, whew, let me tell you, it's going to change your sales life. And it can change your life, because SWOT analysis can be used in a lot of different categories. It can be used primarily, it is used in retail and it is used in the sales. But I now have adapted that it can be used in your personal life, because what does it really mean to have all the success in sales and whatever you do, and then you don't have any personal success? Like, you have to grow as a person and as a um, person within what you do. So that's why I say it's very versatile in how you can use um, the SWOT analysis. But SWOT analysis essentially um, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, um, and then so I'm sorry. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and T. T is something, y'all. Just bear with me. I cannot remember T right now. So I'm gonna look it up while I'm talking. But SWOT analysis is essentially an evaluation of where you are, what's going well, what's not going so well, what's a area that is truly a weakness, and then the area of opportunity, so that you can actually grow. Oh, and I'm sorry. So T is actually threats. So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and then threats. That's the SWOT analysis breakdown. So when I think about strengths, I'll say for me, my strengths are um, I'm just I'm naturally I think a good communicator when it comes to just one on one. Naturally a good communicator. Um, Weaknesses is probably sometimes overcoming some objections. That's where I have an area of weakness that I feel like I could do better on. Opportunities, really engaging better with marketing like techniques, even in the simplest form. And I say marketing, not a flyer or all it, that's typical marketing, which is great. But also the best marketing is yourself. Make sure you leave a lasting impression. When I left one retail job, it really helped me to know later on that I had people that was specifically coming back to that location to talk to me, because I would always help them. So that to me was like, man, that's so impactful. Again, that's one of our keys, our three motives: impact, leave an impact. And that to me was so special, because they would drive, this particular couple, they would drive about 30-40 minutes to our store and allow me to help them and give them suggestions and kind of just go through them with the process of what they were preparing for and what their needs were. So that is the best thing, I think, as far as opportunities, is for me engaging more with my marketing as far as leaving a lasting impression. Of course, the other stuff, the flyers, the XYZ, but definitely leaving a lasting impression um, that impacted somebody's day or life. So lastly, in that SWOT analysis is the threats, which is somebody out there is better than you, but there is nobody like you. So that is a threat. And a threat to me is just to keep you aware enough to know that you can be moved out if you're not really engaging with what you do. You can phase out if you're not growing and developing, because there's always other people out there potentially doing what you're doing, but maybe they don't do it how you do it. So that's why it's key to just keep growing what you do, growing where you're at, to elevate. So again, I just shared with you the SWOT analysis, and now I'm using the SWOT analysis as an insurance agent. So again, this is another transferable skill. I think SWOT analysis probably is the best. As I went through it with you to give you kind of an overview example, you would see how it can apply to your daily life. It can apply to your personal life, because again, personal success is just as important as business and employment success. So those are some transferable skills. Also, just good customer service in any arena. Customer service is going to be important. Whether it may not be like a customer, when you think about customer service, you're thinking about over the phone, or maybe like a cashier or something in retail, but customer service is everywhere. Everywhere, every industry. How you treat people is important. How you talk to people, how you engage with people, how do you seek to solve the issue. I think that's an area, personally, from what I've been seeing, that has gotten a little lower in our society and in the market, is customer service. Customer service has hit kind of an all-time low, where people are just not engaged, whether it's in a store, whether it's in an some executive role. People are just not as engaged as they used to be. For example, I walked in a store yesterday in the mall, and the young lady was sitting down on her phone. When I walked in, she didn't even acknowledge me or anything. Then when I did ask for assistance, it was very nonchalant. And I'm like, I really was turned off already. I looked for 1 second, and then I turned back around and went out. But look at that. Again, go back to the SWOT analysis. What's a weakness? That was a weakness. They didn't have good customer service. What's the opportunity? Learn how to grow your customer service skills, or your employees, more so speaking to the company. I won't say the company's name, but you get the point that it's at an all-time low. And customer service is very important to me, because that has been driven into my skill set for quite some time, and has helped me to grow as a person, but also grow as a professional, whether it be in any industry. So people are looking for assistance. Like, they have a problem and they need a solution, whether it be retail, whether it be finance, whether it be banking, something. And I know in that world, which I've been doing a level of customer service in different roles for some time, even in insurance currently, I still do a level of customer service, because customers have issues. Customers make payments. Customers come back in just because they're curious about certain things within their policies. I have to look at that and take that in account and try to assist them the best of my ability. So customer service is always going to be a foundational principle. But also customer service done right can equal conversion. So can equal closing a sale. And that's where I say transferable skills make you very successful if you really engage with them. I went over about 3. These are 3 that, we've talked about the SWOT analysis. We've talked about customer service. We've talked about logistics. Every job has some level of logistics. I don't care if it's to the most minute point. There's some level of logistics, whether we need 2 boxes of paper to last us the month of blank. I'm looking at how I'm just giving you examples of what we have going on now. What's essential in my job currently as an insurance agent? We desperately need paper all the time. We need ink. We need staples, stuff like that. The typical office stuff. But these are also logistical things that we can't afford logistical error, where we don't need to be selling. We're selling policies, we're selling insurance, but then we run out of paper. It's just not a good look. It doesn't look professional. And it's just a nuance that we could avoid by just preparing and being logistically prepared. So again, another transferable skill. I'm still using that to this day so that we can have our supplies, make our sales, and keep hitting those numbers and striving to hit our targets. So again, take these transferable skills that I talked about today. Let these be some things that could be on your target and goal list, but also think about your skills overall throughout the tenure of your job career, and consider how are they transferable, and am I really using the skills that I've learned in this current role? Sometimes we know the skill, but we're just not transferring them anymore. We think it was just for that season and we never merge and transfer. So consider that today. Consider how to make your success through your transferable skills. So that is our episode today. Look, I hope that this has impacted you today and influenced you. And again, make sure you remember our key 3 motives: influence, income, and impact. I hope this has impacted you today and created value for you. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Quinton Baker, and stay tuned for another episode of Motivate to Millions podcast.